The Galactic arena was silent. Thousands of alien dignitaries sat frozen, their glowing eyes locked on the single human standing in the center. His clothes were torn, one arm bruised, and a cut trickled blood down his cheek. He didn't hold a weapon. He didn't wear armor. He wasn't even supposed to be here. He was a diplomat, not a warrior. His name was Jace Rylan, human ambassador of Earth's Peace Council. He came to negotiate trade and settle a minor border issue. He never expected to be standing in the blood-soaked trial pit of the Yaltharon Empire, surrounded by warriors 3 times his size. But things had gone wrong from the moment he arrived. The Yaltharon queens had summoned him to the Tricourts under false pretenses. What Earth believed was a political summit had actually been a call to duel. According to ancient tradition, when one party questioned the honor of another during negotiations, the challenge could only be resolved through trial by combat. And when Jace refused to kneel before the queens, their council declared it an insult. He tried to explain, tried to apologize, but the warriors dragged him forward. A translator whispered the rules: win or forfeit your planet's place in the poor. Treaty Alliance. Jace was shoved into the arena barefoot, unarmed, as a beast of war twice his size was released. Everyone thought he'd be torn apart in seconds. But then something strange happened. Jace didn't run. He didn't panic. He moved with focus. His breathing slowed, and he dodged the first attack with perfect timing. The alien beast lunged again, snarling, but he rolled beneath it, grabbed a piece of its broken armor, and drove it into the soft joint under its arm. The creature collapsed. The crowd gasped. It wasn't luck. It was instinct, the kind of survival training Earth gave its diplomats ever since first contact had turned deadly on multiple worlds. Jace wasn't just a speaker. He was trained in close combat, stress tactics, and planetary defense scenarios. Earth didn't trust words alone anymore. Not after what happened at Virox 9. Still, no one expected him to win, and certainly not like this. When the last opponent fell, the chamber lit with silence. The queens rose from their thrones in disbelief. The crowd didn't know whether to cheer or execute him, but the law was clear. He had won, and the trial was sacred. 3 alien princesses stepped forward. They were the daughters of each ruling queen, heirs of the Tricourts, born of different clans and bred for war. Each of them was known across the stars. The blue-haired one with fox-like ears was Cathari of the Wind Caste, the fastest warrior alive. The red-haired one with flame-tipped tail was Serena of the Flame Caste, a fire-blooded tactician with more victories than any male general. And the third, with purple skin and dark horns, was Velthira of the shadow-caste, a mysterious sorceress who never spoke unless it was to command death. They looked at Jace not with anger but with something else. Curiosity and hunger. He had passed their ancient rite. According to Yaltharon tradition, any warrior who wins the trial earns a royal favor. Most ask for gold, power, or territory. But the princesses, each one, stepped forward and declared their own demand. They each claimed. Jace, the room broke into chaos. Generals shouted. Ministers cursed. Earth's envoy screamed into the comms demanding extraction. But the trial was binding. No one could undo it. Jace stood there, heart racing, facing 3 alien princesses who now saw him not as a visitor, but as a prize, and none of them were willing to share. Jace didn't move as the 3 princesses stood before him. His body was sore, lungs aching, and blood still ran from his shoulder. But none of that mattered. What mattered now was that he was at the center of a political firestorm, one he never meant to start. The crowd remained silent, too stunned to react. The announcer, a tall creature with silver skin and 4 eyes, simply declared, "The victor has been claimed." 3 times. Earth's delegation, sitting high above in the gallery, erupted into panic. A female aide tried to signal Jace through a wrist device, whispering, "Sir, do not accept any agreements. We're calling for emergency extraction. Stay calm." But calm wasn't the issue. Control was. And Jace had lost that the moment he stepped into the pit. Princess Cathari stepped closer, her long blue hair catching the light as she tilted her head. Her voice was soft but sharp like a blade. You fought like our hunters, quick, smart, you broke the beast's rhythm. That is rare in an off-worlder. Princess Serena folded her arms, her amber eyes fierce. He didn't just survive. He adapted. That is worthy of respect. And claim. Velthira remained silent. Her glowing eyes narrowed, studying him like a puzzle she intended to solve later. Her tail flicked once behind her before she finally spoke. 3 princesses cannot share one champion. The laws do not prepare for this outcome. An old priestess stepped forward from the shadows of the arena wall. Her robes shimmered with ancient glyphs, and her face was hidden behind a veil of energy. When she spoke, her voice echoed through the chamber. The rite is complete. Each princess may lay claim. The human shall decide, or the throne will. The chamber erupted again. Half the court wanted him honored. The other half wanted him executed. And Jace, he just wanted to go home. I didn't come here to fight, Jace said finally, stepping forward. I didn't come to win anyone's favor. I was here for peace, for diplomacy. I never meant to insult your traditions. Serena smirked. And yet, here you stand, bloodied, bruised, and victorious. Kithari stepped closer, her voice dropping. You may not want the crown, human, but the court has already placed it on your head. Velthira's gaze didn't blink. And now your choice holds more power than you understand. Behind the scenes, the royal guards argued in hushed tones. Earth's ambassador tried to reach the Central Alliance. Even the Galactic news drones hovered in quiet suspense. Jace had a few seconds to make a decision, but there was no safe option. If he chose one princess, it could trigger war between the castes. If he refused them all, it might be seen as rejection of the right. That too could be a cause for bloodshed. He took a breath. Let me speak with your queens, Jace said, straightening up despite the pain in his ribs. If I'm to be used as a symbol, then I will speak with the ones who hold the real power. The priestess gave a slow nod. The thrones await you, human. But beware. The trial was only the beginning. As guards led Jace toward the inner chamber where the 3 queens ruled, the princesses followed, their eyes never leaving him. They walked like hunters behind prey. But there was something more than instinct in their steps now. They were watching him, measuring him, and all 3 had made up their minds. They didn't just want him as a trophy, they wanted him as something far more dangerous. The throne chamber was vast and carved from a single mountain of crystal. Light pulsed through the walls like flowing rivers, casting patterns across the floor. 3 high thrones sat at the far end, each carved in the symbol of a royal caste: wind, flame, and shadow. Jace stood alone in the center, his wounds barely bandaged. His eyes scanned the chamber quickly. No exits, no guards inside. Only the queens and their daughters who now stood behind their respective mothers. Queen Thalora of the Wind caste was tall and graceful. Her eyes were calm, but sharp, like a sky before a storm. Queen Caress of Flame radiated heat even without fire, her voice known for ending wars with a single sentence. And Queen Nerith of the Shadow caste sat motionless, draped in robes of dark silk and shadow, her expression unreadable. You have caused a rare problem, human, Queen Thalora said. I didn't come to challenge your ways, Jace replied, but I won't apologize for surviving. Queen Caress leaned forward. You did more than survive. You exposed weakness in our warrior rite. You showed us that strength can come in unfamiliar form. Queen Nerith's voice was barely a whisper. And now the princesses have laid claim. That is not tradition, it is chaos. Kithari, Serena, and Velthira stepped forward again. Kithari spoke first. Our people respect strength. We each saw something in him that our warriors lack. I will not withdraw my claim. Serena raised her chin. Nor will I. He defeated a beast my generals feared. He saw patterns in the chaos, that is rare. Velthira didn't speak. She simply stared at Jace, and her mother nodded as if that was answer enough. The queens went silent, each waiting for the others to speak. Jace broke the silence. What exactly does claim mean in your culture? Queen Thalora answered. In times of ancient war, when castes could not agree on a ruler, the right was used to find a neutral force. The champion became the binding figure. Whoever claimed them could influence the balance of power. Queen, Caress added. If one princess claims the victor, she may rise to queenhood early. If more than one claims, the champion must choose. If he doesn't, the right falls apart. And if the right collapses? Jace asked. Queen Nereth's eyes flickered. Then the court may burn. Jace clenched his jaw. They were asking him to pick a side in an empire held together by fragile tradition. Earth wouldn't survive the backlash of that choice. I am not a prize. I won a trial I never agreed to fight. If this court demands my answer, then I'll give it. But not under pressure. I need time. The queens looked at one another. You will be given 3 days, Queen Thalera finally said. During that time, each princess may attempt to win your favor, as is tradition. You will be safe under our protection. Queen Caress smirked. Unless you insult another law, then not even we can protect you. Queen Nereth added one final warning. And know this, the one you do not choose may not forgive you. The chamber doors opened again. Guards stepped forward and motioned for Jace to follow. As he walked out, he glanced back over his shoulder. The 3 princesses were still, watching him, not with hatred, not with fear, but with something far more dangerous. Interest. They weren't fighting for a throne. They were competing for him. And Jace could already feel the storm coming. Jace was escorted to a private chamber, deep within the palace. It was larger than any room he had ever stayed in during his diplomatic career. The walls shimmered with golden threads of energy, and soft lights floated near the ceiling like gentle stars. Still, he didn't feel safe. He sat on the edge of a curved stone bench and replayed everything in his mind. One wrong step had turned a peace talk into a personal war between 3 royal bloodlines. Earth Command wasn't answering his calls. He was alone in a system ruled by tradition, pride, and power games. The doors opened without warning. Princess Kithari stepped in, light on her feet, almost floating. Her blue hair moved like wind around her shoulders. She wore no armor now, just a silken robe marked with silver feathers and her clan's symbol. I wanted to speak without the others listening, she said softly. Jace stood. You're moving fast for someone I just met. You proved yourself, not just with strength, but with restraint. That matters to my people. He folded his arms. Why me? Out of everyone here, why are you all so focused on me? Kithari tilted her head. Because no one here ever stood alone and won. Not without armor, not without help. You moved like a predator but spoke like a healer. My people respect balance, you have it. She walked closer, close enough that he could see the shimmer in her eyes. You don't have to pick me. I just want you to understand why I stepped forward. I didn't do it because of politics. I did it because I saw something rare. She placed a small pendant in his hand. It was made of bone and crystal, shaped like a wing. Keep it, she said. You'll need allies no matter who you choose. Then she was gone. Before Jace could even sit down again, another knock came. Princess Serena entered. Her hair was tied back, and her skin had the glow of heat beneath the surface. She carried a plate of food, grilled meats, fruits, and something that smelled like spice and smoke. I figured humans need to eat, she said, setting the plate down. You'll need your strength. Jace raised an eyebrow. Trying to win my favor with food? Serena laughed. It was loud and confident, like a fire crackling in the cold. I don't play soft. I respect strength. I don't want to seduce you. I want you to understand that I see your worth. The others admire you. I want to fight beside you. Jace nodded, slowly. That's honest. I appreciate that. She sat across from him, no games in her posture, just steady eyes and a fire waiting beneath. 3 days is nothing, she said. But it's enough to learn who you are. If you choose me, I'll make sure you never stand alone again. And just like that, she was gone too. Jace barely had time to breathe before the shadows in the corner of the room shifted. Velthira stepped out as if she had always been there, waiting. Her violet skin shimmered in the low light. She didn't speak at first. You see things others miss, she said finally. I watched you in the arena. You didn't just fight. You calculated. You predicted. That's not warrior instinct. That's something deeper. She stepped closer, eyes glowing faintly. You're not just a man. You're a change. Jace didn't know what to say. Veltira handed him a dark crystal. It pulsed in his hand. Keep it hidden. You'll know when to use it. And then she vanished. Jace looked at the food, the wing pendant, and the dark crystal now lying before him. 3 gifts, 3 meanings, 3 princesses. Each one had a different reason, and none of them were playing fair. Jace barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the arena again. The beast, the silence, the princess's eyes. The gifts they left him now sat on the table, symbols of attention, but also of pressure. Earth had trained him for politics, for survival, even for war, but not for this. The next morning he was summoned to the royal gardens. He didn't know what to expect. Guards led him through winding halls filled with glowing plants and floating lanterns. The air was warm, and the scent of alien flowers made his head feel light. In the center of the garden, Kithari waited beside a wind fountain, the air dancing in spirals above the water. She didn't speak at first. She simply watched him. I thought you might like silence, she said softly. Your mind is loud. Jace sighed. Hard not to be, when I'm the target of royal competition. She smiled gently. I'm not here to compete. I just want to show you who I really am. They sat on the edge of the fountain. Birds with translucent wings flew above them, singing in strange harmonies. I grew up trained to fly, to fight, and to rule, she said. But I never liked power games. My mother wants a queen who obeys. I want to lead in my own way. She paused. When I saw you in the arena, calm in chaos, I thought, maybe this is the sign I've been waiting for. Jace looked at her. You think I'm a sign? Maybe. Or maybe just the first honest choice I've seen in years. Before he could answer, a voice interrupted from behind the trees. I hope you're not filling his head with poetry. Serena stepped out, her cloak dragging across the glowing grass. She looked annoyed but not surprised. Kithari stood without anger. We don't have to argue, not here. Good, Serena said. Then I'll speak my part. She turned to Jace. I want to take you to the flame yard. You should see what I protect, what I fight for. Kithari nodded. Go, see all sides. Jace followed Serena through a red gate shaped like fire. The temperature rose instantly. Lava flowed in open channels beside the stone path. In the distance, warriors trained, their bodies scarred and strong. This is my world, Serena said. Not gold or flowers. This. She pointed to the warriors. They fight because they believe in honor. But most of them will never see the throne. It's all ceremony. I want to change that. She turned to him, eyes serious. You weren't supposed to survive that beast, but you did, because you didn't wait for permission. That's the kind of mind I need beside me. Jace didn't answer. He respected her strength, her fire. But every step brought more weight. That evening, he returned to his chamber and found it empty, until shadows formed behind him. Veltira appeared once more. I won't take you to gardens or lava fields, she said. I'll take you to truth. She touched the wall and a hidden door opened. Inside was a dark hall lined with glowing carvings. Symbols of old battles, betrayals, secrets. This is the truth behind the right, she whispered. It was not created for peace. It was born to control. She moved past the carvings and stopped at one showing a human-like figure holding hands with 3 queens. Long ago there was another, she said. A human, chosen by all. He disappeared, and history was rewritten. Jace stared at the carving. What happened to him, he asked. Velthira's voice dropped. He chose no one, and the empire fell. Jace stepped back, heart pounding. The story had changed again. This wasn't just about who to pick. This was about holding the empire together, and once again it was all on him. The next day, Jace didn't wait to be summoned. He walked the palace halls on his own, followed quietly by 2 guards. He wasn't trying to escape. He just needed space to think. But in a place like this, every corner whispered history, secrets, and expectation. He kept hearing Velthira's words. A human had come before, chosen by all, then vanished. The carvings she showed him were old, too old to be fake. And the 3 princesses? They weren't just trying to win him. They were trying to save something ancient. Jace stopped near a statue, 3 figures standing back to back holding a circle of fire, wind, and shadow. A line beneath it read, "United once, torn again." He turned as a voice spoke from behind. "You saw the Forgotten Room, didn't you?" It was Queen Nerith, Velthira's mother. Her dark robes dragged across the floor like mist. Her face was calm, but unreadable. Jace nodded. "The story doesn't match what I was told. There was another like me." "Not like you," she replied. He was weaker, unsure. He hesitated until it was too late. "So he ran?" "No. He was removed." Her words hung heavy in the air. "You mean he was killed?" "No one ever found the body. Some say he left by force. Others say he was taken by the shadows themselves." Jace frowned. Why would the court hide that? Because fear holds empires together faster than truth. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "My daughter is not the only one watching. There are others in this palace, old bloodlines, secret orders, who fear what you represent. And what do I represent? Change. Chaos. A break in tradition. The princesses see opportunity, but others see collapse." Jace exhaled slowly. "Then I shouldn't stay." "You have no choice now," she said. "The right has bound you to the court. If you leave without choosing, history will repeat." She turned to go, but added one final warning. "Do not underestimate how far the old ones will go to protect their control. Even the queens cannot stop them all." As she disappeared into the misty halls, Jace was left alone again. That night he sat with the 3 gifts on his table. The wing pendant from Kithari, the fire-scented food from Serena, the dark crystal from Velthira. Each one held more than meaning. They felt like pieces of a puzzle. He stared at the crystal and turned it in his fingers. Then it pulsed. A light shimmered from within it, and a strange map formed above his hand. It showed the palace from above, but with hidden rooms, secret tunnels, and unseen movement marked in red. Jace's heart jumped. The crystal wasn't just symbolic. It was a tool, and someone was moving through the palace now, toward him. He stood quickly. The guards outside his door were missing. Suddenly, the lights dimmed, and the door slid open. A figure stepped inside. Not a princess. Not a guard. It was an older alien man in ceremonial robes with no royal crest. "You were warned," the man said. "This empire cannot survive another choice like yours." Jace stepped back. "I haven't made a choice." "You don't need to. The fact that they all want you is enough." The man raised a strange device, but before he could strike, the wall exploded in a wave of wind. Kithari stormed through, blades drawn, eyes glowing. "Touch him and you die," she said. The man vanished into the shadows without a fight, but Jace could feel the message. This was bigger than court politics. He was no longer just a diplomat. He was a threat to an entire system built on fear, and now, someone wanted him gone before he could decide anything at all. Jace leaned against the wall, breathing hard. The room was filled with smoke and flickering lights. Kithari stood near the shattered doorway, her twin blades lowered but still glowing with energy. She didn't speak right away. Neither did Jace. When the silence broke, it was sharp. "That man, who was he?" Jace asked. Kithari walked to the shattered wall and stared into the darkness. "An elder of the Shadow Hall," she said. One of the unseen hands behind the throne. They act when words fail. When control is at risk. Jace shook his head. So they'd rather kill me than let the right finish? Some would, especially now that all three clans are watching you. She turned to him, her voice softer. You're not just a man anymore, Jace. You're a symbol. They fear what might happen if you choose wrong, or if you choose no one. Jace sat down slowly. His body still ached from the trial, his mind was even worse. I didn't ask for this. I know. But it's yours now. The door opened again, this time with no attack. Serena walked in, expression sharp. I saw the blast from the flame. Tower, what happened? Kithari answered. He was targeted by the elders. Serena swore under her breath. Then it's worse than we thought. She looked at Jace. Veltira needs to know. If they're breaking their silence, then the shadows are moving faster than the court can react. Jace stood, his voice tense. You're all still expecting me to choose, but this isn't about alliances anymore. This is survival. Serena nodded. Exactly. That's why your choice matters more than ever. Jace looked between them. Then, tell me the truth. Why do you really want me, not your mother's, not your caste's, you? Kithari met his gaze first. Because I've never seen someone stand in a room full of warriors and speak like every word mattered. You reminded me of what leadership should be. Serena stepped forward. Because I've led soldiers into war. I've seen heroes and liars. You don't pretend to be either, you're just real. And that's rare here. The room grew quiet. Then a soft whisper filled the air. You should hear my reason too. Veltira stepped out of the shadow, her presence calm but heavy. I saw it in the crystal, she said. The one I gave you, it's not just a map, it's a mirror. It shows what matters to you, what you fear, and what you don't understand yet. She looked at Jace without blinking. You're drawn to all of us for different reasons, but none of that will matter if the elders erase you before sunrise. Jace looked down at the crystal again. The map still glowed faintly, but now it showed a blinking mark, moving closer. They're coming again, he said. Serena drew her weapon. Kithari nodded. Then we fight, she said. Velthira's voice cut through the room. No, if we fight. Now the court will call it rebellion. They need to see what's really happening. Jace clenched his fists. Then show them. Velthira held out her hand. I'll take you to the shadow chamber. Everything hidden, everything forgotten, it's all there. If the court sees it, they won't be able to deny the truth. Kithari looked at the map. It's guarded. We'll need to move fast. Serena turned toward the door. Then let's move. Jace looked at the three princesses around him. One with wind in her veins, one with fire in her blood, one with secrets in her soul. They were no longer rivals. Not right now. Now they were his shield. And maybe, just maybe, he was theirs too. The halls leading to the shadow chamber were dark and silent. Jace moved quickly between the princesses, each one alert, weapons drawn. Velthira led them through tunnels not shown on any official map. Only her crystal, now glowing brighter than ever, lit their path. Above them, the palace buzzed with nervous energy. Whispers were spreading. The human was missing. Guards were moving. The elders had failed their silent strike. Now they would use fear. But Jace wasn't running anymore. He followed Velthira down a narrow stairwell carved from black stone. Strange symbols glowed along the walls, symbols he had seen in her secret room. They pulsed like they were alive. At the bottom stood a door made of obsidian and light. Velthira pressed her palm to a glowing panel. The door groaned open with a deep hum. Inside was a round chamber surrounded by tall crystal spires. In the center floated a single orb, black, silent, and spinning slowly in the air. Around it were holograms flickering in and out of focus, memories, events, voices of history long erased. This is where the truth was buried, Velthira said. Serena stepped inside, eyes narrowing. So it's real. Kithari walked to one of the floating panels. This is more than history, this is evidence. Jace stared at the orb. Show me. Velthira nodded and touched the orb. The chamber lit up. A full projection of the past filled the space, images of a human male standing beside three princesses not unlike the ones with him now. The faces were different, but the story was the same. A trial, a victory, a bond. Then came the unrest. Elders arguing, shadows rising. The human tried to unite them, but was betrayed. The princesses fought to protect him, but the court struck first. The final image showed the man being pulled into light screaming. Then it ended. That was the last time someone won the right, Velthira whispered. Jace felt cold. They erased it. Kithari nodded. To protect the balance, to stop the clans from merging. Serena clenched her fists. Because merging ends the power of the elders. Velthira looked at Jace. And now, it's happening again. Footsteps echoed above them. They've found us, Kithari said, stepping back toward the door. Let them come, Serena said, blades glowing in her hands. No, Velthira whispered. Let them see. She pressed her hand against the orb again. A wave of energy shot upward through the tower, lighting every corridor of the palace. The images from the shadow chamber burst into the air above the thrones, in the halls, even in the courts. Every royal, every guard, every noble, they all saw the truth. Jace turned to Velthira. What did you do? I gave them what they tried to hide. Now they can't deny it. Outside, alarm bells rang. But inside the chamber, the three princesses stood strong beside the human. The door burst open. Dozens of guards poured in. Behind them, the three queens entered, their faces pale, eyes wide with disbelief. Queen Thalora stared at the projection. Queen Caress whispered, "It was true all along." Queen Nerith did not speak. Jace stepped forward, voice clear. "I didn't come here for power. But I won the trial. I honored the right. And I've been hunted for it." He pointed to the images still glowing above. "I won't let this happen again." The queens looked at one another, and then Queen Thalora said softly, "Then the throne must decide." Kithari stepped beside him. "So must we." Serena joined her. Velthira closed her eyes and said, "It's time." Jace stood in the center of the chamber, the truth burning behind him, the Empire watching and the weight of three hearts pressing toward his final choice. The throne room had never been this silent. Jace stood at the center, surrounded by the three princesses, each one calm but ready. Above them, the truth still floated in glowing light, the forbidden history of the last human who stood in his place. The queens, now faced with undeniable proof, sat frozen. The elders were the first to speak. 4 of them stepped forward from the shadows, their long robes dragging across the crystal floor. Their voices trembled with controlled rage. "You have broken sacred law," one of them said. "Revealing the forbidden past is treason." "It was already broken the moment you tried to erase it," Jace replied, his voice firm. The queens said nothing. The court whispered. Nobles argued. Guards exchanged glances. All of them had seen the vision. They knew now what had been hidden. That a human was never supposed to be silenced. That the right was never meant to divide. Then Queen Thalora stood. She walked down the steps of her throne slowly, her eyes locked on Jace. "I was raised with lies," she said. "Taught that the trial only served the Empire, that choosing no one would bring ruin. But perhaps the ruin came from silence." Queen Caress stepped down next. "I trained my daughter for war, to win. But I see now that the victory is not in control, it's in trust." Queen Nerith remained on her throne. Her eyes were on her daughter. Velthira didn't flinch. Finally, Nerith spoke. "You risked the Empire to bring truth," she said to her daughter, "and you risked your life for a human." "I would do it again," Velthira said without hesitation. Then Nerith rose. "I will not stop what has already begun." All 3 queens now stood before Jace. "The right must complete," Queen Caress said. "But this time, not with silence, not with fear, with choice." The court quieted. The elders faded into the background, powerless for now. Jace turned to the three princesses. Each one had fought for him in her own way. Kithari with grace and freedom, Serena with fire and honesty, Velthira with shadows and truth. They hadn't tried to win him with power. They had protected him, respected him, believed in him. The choice was his. But before he could speak, the ground rumbled. A voice echoed from above. I warned you. The same elder who tried to strike Jace earlier appeared at the top of the chamber. But this time he was not alone. Behind him stood 6 warriors in dark armor. Silent, glowing, enhanced. Their armor was old, forbidden. Tech from the ancient wars. They plan to rewrite history? The elder growled. Then let the past finish what it started. He raised his hand and the soldiers leapt. But the princesses moved first. Serena charged forward, flames swirling around her fists. Kithari launched into the air, wind trailing her every step. Velthira vanished and reappeared behind the first enemy, striking with shadows sharpened into blades. Jace didn't run. He stood his ground. He grabbed a fallen spear and met the attackers head-on, moving with the same calm that had once stunned the arena. The court watched in shock as the human they feared, the one they tried to control, now stood beside the daughters of power, fighting not for a crown but for something deeper. The queens called the guards to join, and for the first time in centuries, the palace fought as one, the chamber filled with sparks, cries, and ancient fire. But through it all, one truth rose above everything else. Jace was no longer a visitor. He was part of their future. And when the battle ended, only one question would remain. Which princess would he choose? The last soldier fell with a crack of flame and a flash of wind. The throne room, once filled with violence, now echoed only with silence and breath. Smoke drifted in the air. Energy flickered in broken light panels. But they were alive. Jace dropped the spear. His chest rose and fell with every breath. Around him, the 3 princesses stood still, watching him, not for answers, not for praise, but for what came next. Kithari's robe was torn at the shoulder, but her gaze was steady. Serena's knuckles were bruised, her flame still smoldering. Velthira's shadow aura faded slowly as she stepped forward, calm as ever. The queens called the elders to be taken away. The crowd did not resist. No one argued anymore. The truth had been seen. The lie had been shattered, and only one part remained unfinished. The right Queen Thalora turned toward Jace and spoke clearly for all to hear. The trial was sacred. The claim was earned. Now the choice must be made. Jace looked at the 3 women before him. He had fought beside them, bled beside them. He had seen not just their strength but their reasons. Each one offered him something different, and he owed them all more than a polite answer. He stepped forward, heart steady, eyes clear. I came here as a diplomat, he said. Not as a warrior, not as a prize. I was trained to speak, not to fight. But when I was forced to choose between silence and survival, I fought. He looked at Kithari. You showed me trust without pressure. You reminded me what freedom feels like. He turned to Serena. You protected me with your fire, but never asked for anything in return. You showed me loyalty without demand. Then, he faced Velthira. You gave me the truth, even when it was dangerous. You saw the worst coming and stood with me anyway. He paused. This was never about who I would stand above. It was about who I would stand beside. Then, for the first time, he smiled. I choose all 3. Gasps echoed across the chamber. A noble dropped his staff. A guard blinked in disbelief. Even the queens looked stunned. Jace raised his voice before anyone could interrupt. I don't choose one princess. I choose unity. I will not be a symbol of more division. If you want this empire to survive, then let this right evolve. Let the throne be built on something new. Partnership. The silence stretched long. The court waited. Then Queen Nerith spoke. There is no law for this. Jace nodded. Then write one. Queen Caress stepped forward. We will be challenged. Then, face the challenge, Jace replied. Together. Queen Thalora's lips parted in the slightest smile. A new right then, a shared claim. A bond between castes, not competition. She turned to the court. Let it be recorded. The trial is no longer a game of conquest. It is a test of unity. Velthira stepped beside Jace. Cathari joined on his left. Serena placed a hand on his shoulder. In that moment, the court didn't see a human out of place. They saw the future. Flame, wind, shadow, and earth standing as one. As the orb of truth dimmed and the palace lights returned, a new seal formed in the air behind them, 4 symbols interlocked, glowing with hope. Jace wasn't just the ambassador anymore. He was the bond that turned history into change, and for the first time, the Empire chose peace not because of fear, but because of a human who simply refused to choose anything less than all.